Well, hey there, you guys. Welcome back to another week, another episode of the podcast. I am Janeen Alley, and you are listening to Becoming the CEO of Your Life today. Today, we are talking about how to play a bigger game by connecting to your inner wisdom. And when I'm talking about playing a bigger game, I am talking about something that you define. This is a vision that you have created for your life that you are currently not in alignment with. And to be in alignment with that vision is playing the bigger game. Okay, so this is outside of what this looks like for other people. This is when we get stuck, is when we feel like the vision should look a certain way. So I really do want you to create this vision kind of on your own terms. I know that's kind of a cliche thing that we say in business. As coaches, we throw that word around a lot, but that is what I want you to do. So it might mean that you add some things in. It might mean that you take some things out. It might mean that you're more or less visible. It might mean that you are thinking about creating something that for some reason, whatever reason, feels inaccessible to you right now. I don't want you to worry about the inaccessibility of it. I just want you to think about the vision. Okay. We're going to align you with that vision today by connecting you to that inner wisdom. So yes, this is going to require that you dare to dream and dwell in possibility and all of those things. But that is what is creating current friction with you right now. It's creating pain. And I'm going to talk about what that means in just a second. But I know that the thing that you want is not coincidental. It is not by happenstance. I think we want certain things for a reason. I think this is all done by design, actually, by divine design. And these are experiences that we are meant to have that will help to shape us to be who we need to be and to help us to progress. Okay, so every woman on the planet, now that I've said that, has at her core this unfailing perfect wisdom that she has within herself that is usually untapped because she doesn't know how to access it. She doesn't know how to hear it and listen to it. She doesn't know how to pay attention to it when it's talking to her. She doesn't know how to nurture it. She doesn't know how to connect to it. Okay. And I know that this seems like kind of intangible, but it's not. I actually have some tangible things that you can do to help you to connect to your inner wisdom. But I want you to be really open-minded when I go through that. I'm going to go through that in just a second. But I got to say, knowing this as a coach is actually one of the things that makes my job as a coach when I'm coaching my clients very easy to do because I know that they have the answers for their lives within themselves. It's just my job to help to connect them to that inner wisdom. Let me give you an example. Okay, so I am currently a coach for a nonprofit organization called the Commit Foundation. And this foundation helps military members and their spouses to transition out of the military. And my dad was wondering the other day, he's like, well, how do you help people to do this if you've never done that before? So this is the wonderful thing about working with a life coach is that most life coaches, I know I've been trained to do this. I can't speak for all of them because I haven't been through all the trainings, but most life coaches are trained to be the expert on their own lives and to allow people to be the expert on their own lives. They don't have to have all the experience to help other people with their circumstances, right? I don't have the answers for your life. You have the answers for those things. And I don't need to have lived through your experiences in order to help you to do that because you've done that and you have the inner wisdom. You have that inner guide to help you to know what to do. So I just help my clients to connect to that wisdom. And I do that in two ways. And you can do the same thing for yourself. You need to know that your current thoughts are creating your results, and you need to see the connection between those two things. Your thoughts are separate from your circumstances. So you need to know how to separate those two things, number one, and to see the connection between the thoughts and the beliefs that you're believing and the results that you're getting. And then you also need to ask yourself really good questions. Those are the two things. And I'm going to give some examples of what those questions could be in just a second. Okay, so I am working with, I'm going to give you one more example of this. I'm working with a client right now who is creating something absolutely incredible. And of course, just like all of us, she's run into some obstacles along the way. There's always obstacles, right? Just count it. Just count on it, right? Things don't go the way that we want them to go, and that's okay. But this is what we do. And I was coaching her through this week, but we all do this. The first thing we do is we think, okay, what should I do? And then we look outside of ourselves for the answers. We ask a bunch of people questions who we think know better than we do. And this isn't a problem because there are people, of course, who know things that we don't, right? But it becomes a problem when we aren't connected to ourselves too. When we're seeing their opinions as something that is more or more important than what we think. We don't weigh all the opinions equally weighty, right? We think that other people know better. And this isn't to say that, like I said, some people actually know better than we do, right? And in that situation, then their opinion might become weightier. But we just do this across the board all the time. We just assume that people know more than we do when we're not taking our own opinions into consideration. The second thing we do is we panic and we start throwing spaghetti against the wall and hope that something sticks. And when we're doing this, when we're throwing the spaghetti and hoping something sticks, we just go with whatever sticks. We let that be the answer. And we lose sight in the process of doing this of the vision that we've created. And the last thing we usually do is we get quiet and we connect. In fact, this is a step that most people don't do at all, right? But listen, your biggest job as a business owner, as a mom, as a human is to hold the vision. This is your job, right? If something didn't work out, it's okay. But you want to be asking, okay, what else could work to make the vision a reality? And sometimes we need to pivot. Sometimes I totally get that we need to pivot for legal reasons, right? And we do need to shift gears. But most of the time, we don't. And yet we do anyway. We often sacrifice this vision because it starts to get muddled by too many opinions from other people about what we should be doing. But it's not their vision. It's ours. And it was given to us for a reason. So what's happened right now is that we have this balance. The balance is not really balanced, but it's the balance that we have between the inner wisdom and looking outside of yourselves for the answer is like 2 to 98. 2% of the time, we are paying attention to our inner voice. 98% of the time, we are listening to all these voices out here when it needs to be more like a 50-50 balance. And the reason why is because, like I mentioned, this vision was given to you for a reason. And I know that it changes and morphs over time, but it needs to come from inside of you instead of because it's getting changed by what you're hearing and what you're seeing without you actually holding the vision. Okay. So if you want, what you want to do is you want to ultimately probably live a simpler, easier life that is highly effective. It's also very authentic to you. So you get to define what that looks like for you. So for me, for a long time, this doesn't have anything to do with business. It just has to do with my life. For a long time, this included homeschooling my kids. I homeschooled my kids for 12 years. 12 years, that's a long time. That's a really long time to be homeschooling. We lived in Europe. I wanted to take advantage of the travel opportunities. I wanted the flexibility in my schedule. And I wanted to teach my kids the things that I felt like were really important for their education. And part of that was having them figure out how to learn, how to teach themselves. Instead of just getting spoon-fed information from me or from somebody else, I wanted them to learn how to learn and to teach themselves. That was something that was really important to me. And this vision of my homeschool experience didn't come from anyone else but me. And when this inspiration came, I remember it felt really scary. And truth be told, I didn't think this was what I wanted to do, but I knew deep down it was the right thing to do. And so sometimes we have experiences like that where it feels scary. Oftentimes visions do feel a little bit scary. They feel a little bit out of reach. It feels like that wasn't really what I had planned. And yet it's coming from something else. I truly believe that if I just stick with my own plans, the ones that I create in my head, and I don't pay attention to those divine downloads that I get about where I really need to be moving in my life will feel very blah. It will feel very boring, I think, if I'm just moving forward with my own plans and not paying attention to that divine inspiration that I'm getting. So I think it's really helpful for us to take a look at our culture to help us to see how we as women have gotten ourselves into this situation where we are not taking bold moves to move the needle on some of the things that we want to do. This isn't something that you are imagining. This isn't something that only you are experiencing. And this is something I'm actually going to share a quote from Tara Moore from her book, Playing Big. Highly recommend it. I love this book. But she says in this book, over generations, women's exclusion from political, public, and professional life has shaped our fears of speaking up, our fears of rocking the boat, and displeasing other people. And it has caused women to develop a number of behaviors that enabled them to survive in environments where they had no legal, financial, or political power. So listen to this list. This is really, really key. I bet you can see yourself in some of these. Behaviors like conflict avoidance, self-censoring, people-pleasing, tentative speech, and tentative actions. Okay, all of this has left women playing much smaller than we'd like to. We know that we do it, but we don't know how to change it. So the way that we know we're not connected to our inner wisdom, our inner wisdom is we're listening to the voice of self-doubt. This is the voice inside of us that is pretty sure that you're not the one to lead or to write or to speak or to do things your way. And this is what creates pain. I know this is what creates pain for me. And I feel like when this has surfaced, I feel apathy at best. And I know that is not an emotion that I enjoy feeling. I don't enjoy feeling blah. Apathy feels blah to me, right? But there is this fear when this is much bigger. There is this fear inside of me of kind of the music, of dying with the music still inside of me, where I have not lived authentically and I have not fully expressed myself and the way that I want to do things. So connecting to your inner wisdom really is the opposite of this kind of pain and struggle. The truth is, becoming wildly successful is about speaking your truth and owning your message that comes from ease and this connection to yourself. It really does come from ease. We have to take it easy in order to be connected to ourselves. Now, don't get me wrong here. There is still pain. It's just a different kind of pain, right? Because life is 50-50 regardless, right? The pain, though, is in the process of creation. So there is self-discipline that comes from taming your inner critic. I want you to hear me say that. The self-discipline does not come from the creation process. It comes from taming your inner critic and allowing your true message to be heard. That is where the pain comes from. It does not come from playing small. So for so many of you, you want to feel kind of this inner pull or this inner guide to be your vision or your internal compass so that you can live more authentically, you can live that fully expressed life, and you're living in this place that's free from this fear of pushing to achieve these external markers of success that don't align with you. So what do you need to do to connect to your inner wisdom? This is kind of the juicy part of the podcast episode today. So if you want to know the specifics, like how to actually do this is what I teach my clients how to do. I don't have time to go into all of this here today. So if you're interested in knowing the how, I'm going to tell you what to do. But if you want to know how to do it, if you're somebody who's like, I just want to have more connection with you and more of a guide in this process, then reach out to me. This is where I can help you. So sorry that I can help you to do this. By the way, I am feeling much better this week, but there's still a little bit of this residual stuff. So this seems like kind of like an intangible concept, like I was saying, but there's actually some really tangible things that you can do to create this connection. But it takes some work. This is something that just happens for people. Otherwise, this wouldn't be a problem. I wouldn't be here, right? So the first thing that I do is I actually have a very specific visualization or visualizations that I use. And one of them includes kind of building an inner mentor relationship with yourself, your future self down the road, like 20 or 30 years down the road from now. And I have brought up the future self concept before on the podcast, but this takes it like one step further, where you're able to get advice from this version of you. So you have this relationship with this person as if they are one of your mentors. And this is really important. In fact, one of the exercises that I do with the Commit Foundation, with the people that I'm working with over there, is talking about identity. And we give everybody some puzzle pieces and they write down all the different identities that they have, right? They're moms, they're women, they're friends, all of the different things that they do. We always have them leave one piece of the puzzle blank. And then when they're finished filling out their version of their identities, we ask, did anybody write your name on a puzzle piece? And no one ever does. So weird. No one ever writes their name on that puzzle piece. But this is the most important relationship that you have, is with yourself. And if you connect to that inner wisdom that you have, like I said, your life becomes a lot easier because you're not confusing what your inner guide is telling you with all the voices that you have out here. You're really clear on both things. And then from that space, you're able to lead in a much easier way. You're not, like I said, you're far less confused. Okay. So the second thing is there's a specific breathing exercise that I do that helps you to connect your second chakra to your fourth chakra. So you guys know I teach yoga, so I'm really interested in energy. So your second chakra, and chakras are just wheels of energy that we have in our bodies. We have thousands of them actually, but there are 8 main chakras that you have in your body. The 8th one actually being outside of yourself, but the second chakra is located in your pelvis. And this is the energy, it houses the energy of creativity and joy. This is where these two things kind of are generated, if you will. So you can think, in your pelvis, everybody has the reproductive organs there. And so, you're talking about the creation of life, right? So you can remember it in that way. So this is where your creativity and joy are housed, is in your second chakra inside of your pelvic bowl. Your wisdom resides in your fourth chakra, or your heart chakra. And the important thing in this breathing exercise is to connect these two chakras together. So once these energy channels are open, you can start to ask yourself really helpful questions like, what is the truth? What is my next step? Where I need to focus my energy and attention. And when I'm doing this exercise for myself, I'm only asking one question. That's the question of the day, just depending on how or where I'm stuck. But that is kind of the exercise that I do. And I'll ask that question like 4 or 5 different times with, like I said, a specific breathing technique that I'm doing that helps to just ground me. So that is one of the things that I do, again, to help. I know that it sounds kind of woo. You can't really, don't judge it until you try it. That's all I got to say. I'm not much of a woo person, but these are the things that actually work for me. And so I do them because they work. And so I want to encourage you to stay open-minded with this. The last one is probably the easiest one, or the least woo thing that I'm going to suggest today. And that is to spend time listening to yourself. This is so counterintuitive to the way that most of us move throughout the day, right? We don't like slowing down, but listening is truly an art, and we do need to be quiet at some point during the day in order to really listen to what our inner voice is telling us. We get better at the things that we practice. So the more that we do this, the more clear this voice becomes, and the more we understand what that voice sounds like. If we don't make time to do this, we'll continue to feel this disconnect and sometimes this feeling of being lost in our lives. So I want you asking yourself questions just to kind of connect to yourself. I want you asking questions like, okay, what are some of your ideas? What are your opinions about this? What do you like and dislike just in general? Why do you like or dislike these things? If you could plan the perfect meal, what would you eat? Who would you invite to eat it with you? If you could have the perfect day, what would you do? Do you know the answers to these kinds of questions? If not, I want you to sit down and start like a journaling practice to get to know yourself. The better you understand and know yourself, the louder and the more clear your inner guide is going to be. Okay, so those are the three things. The first one, I'm just going to recap for you. The first one is to have like a visualization practice where you're connecting to your future self in the future, like 20 or 30 years down the road. Okay. The second one is to use breath work to really connect and open up energy channels in your body so that these creative juices are free to flow, if you will, so that you can really hear like the ideas coming through. And the last one is just to create a relationship to yourself by listening to yourself, like asking yourself certain questions. And they're not just like what happened in the past. I've seen those journals, in Barnes and Noble or something where they're like, build a relationship with yourself. And a lot of it is like, memories and things like that. I want you to ask yourself these kinds of questions as if you're getting to know somebody new. Like I know in college, we used to sit down in the cafeteria tables and ask a lot of the similar questions to a new person, a new friend every day. What's your major? Where are you from? Like those kinds of things, right? I want you to get a little bit deeper than that. I want you to really get into what are your opinions about things. It is amazing how infrequently women do this with themselves. And then they're asked to, or they expect themselves to make really difficult decisions. You can't make difficult decisions if you don't know what your opinion is, or if you don't know how you would typically respond to something, or why this time it would be different from that. All of these things that we don't actually think about or do. So anyway, those are some places to get started. If you want to know more about how to actually do this, how to create this relationship with yourself, I want you to reach out to me. This is what I'm going to be doing in the Becoming the CEO of Your Life course and coaching program that I'm going to be rolling out in several weeks. So if you want to join me for that, I highly recommend that you join me now. Now really is the time. It's going to be an amazing experience for the students that are in this course. It is going to change the trajectory of your life because you are going to start, like I said, I hate saying this, living life more on your own terms. I don't know how to say it any differently than that, but playing bigger according to your vision and your goals for your life without getting muddled by anything else around you. So super excited about it all. And like I said, if you want to join me, reach out to me, janeenalley.com/CEO to book a call with me. And I'm going to help you to figure out some of your self-trust issues currently and maybe invite you to join me inside of the program. All right, you guys, have a beautiful rest of your week. Again, that link one more time, janeenalley.com/CEO. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.